habit of recording daily. I'm excited. So I'm driving back from Sunday service at this church I'm currently attending. I've been attending this church for, I've been coming to Sunday service for about a month now. And I started going to their small groups in October. I invited myself. But one of my friends, she was going, and then I just invited myself to go because I was looking for just another Christian space where I could probably build community. The reason why I decided to start coming on Sundays is it's funny because the friend that I went with to the small groups, we just happened to go to Sunday service together, like at the same time, like about a month ago. And she has been to the church before and has talked to the pastor, and the pastor told her that she shouldn't come back until she leaves like the church we were going to before. So she was there, and she hasn't like officially left the church that we were attending before. And I was like, you can't come to this place and not talk to this man. And her cousin was also there, and she was like, yeah, when we came, I prayed that we would see him and he would see you, because you know you're not supposed to be here. So we waited until he was free, because he talks to like anybody that wants to talk to him after service. And he saw us, and he was like, wait, like I'm coming, like, because he had to like talk to other people. So we waited, and then we ended up talking to him. And it's funny because like I waited so that she could talk to him, but he ended up talking to like all three of us and asking like each of us like why we're there, where we were before, what made us like decide to make the switch, where are we in like our relationships with God. And he was speaking to each individually, and I really appreciate him as a person. So to me, I was like explaining to him just where I've been with my life. Yeah, not in a good place. I don't know how many of the videos I've been recording since November are gonna go public, or when they're gonna go public, but the biggest theme of those videos is my mental health. And relationships to a lesser extent, but primarily like my mental health. Yeah, but not in a good place mentally, spiritually, relationally, communally. Just been in a really bad place. And honestly, I think a big factor to me staying in that place for as long as I did was the people I was surrounded by, and the community that I was in. So I was explaining to him why I don't like the church that I grew up in, and different reasons for that. And he could tell that I was really like deeply hurt, and that I'm just like not in a good place. So he was like, listen, one, you need to forgive these people and just let go of whatever it is that they hurt you of, because it's not doing you any good. Like, it's clouding your soul and things like that. Two, attend this church for the next 10 weeks and just have it be like a place where you're just coming to be. You're not like, you don't have to figure things out, you don't have to serve anything, just come for the next 10 weeks. You don't have to make a commitment after that, but just so that you can at least have a place to come to, so that you can start your healing journey. And yeah, so I think that was the first time I felt like someone was genuinely speaking to the situation that I was in, and then I felt seen. So that's why I decided to come, because before I was attending an Orthodox church, and that's one thing that I want to talk about. So I was like, okay. At first I was skeptical, because I'm like, I don't know if I can actually commit to this decision. Just because I'm like, yeah, I'm just in a place where it's just like, I don't know, like I'm not ready to join your church. It's primarily because of like, I've been attending the Orthodox church, and it's just very, very different environment. I think if it was like, I was trying to decide between another Protestant church and this one, or another like non-denominational church and this one, I probably would have just chosen this one, just because there's a level of comfortability I have being here, being that it's aligned with the backgrounds that I come from, not just the church I grew up in, but the campus ministry I was in. And they're Black and African, so just and I know a lot of people there actually, just because of the DMV area. So there's just a level of comfortability I have attending this church communally that I don't have with the Orthodox church. But theologically, the Orthodox church has my freaking heart. So it's like I'm in that space where it's like, which one is more important to me when I'm joining a church, like now I'm not just thinking about community, because before I was thinking about, like, church for me was always primarily community. Even as I was going like deeper in my relationship with God, church was primarily about the people and not necessarily about like all of the other stuff. But now that I'm in this place theologically, the Orthodox, not just the Orthodox, but the Apostolic churches and older Protestant churches have a very different understanding of church. The word for that is ecclesiology, but they have a very different understanding of church and its purpose and what it is than non-denominational churches do. And I grew up and was formed in non-denominational context, and church honestly primarily is a community. It's a community gathering. Whereas in the older churches, church is not just a community gathering, it's coming to experience the life and truth of Christ and the Trinity. So it's just very different considerations in deciding to join a church. At this point, now that I'm considering Orthodoxy, like, I was drawn to Orthodoxy because of the theology. I'm saying because I think saying theology is very theology from my non-denominational perspective in terms of how we understand the truth about the gospel. Theology from their perspective cannot be separated from ecclesiology for reasons I can get into in another video. So I am drawn to the Orthodox Church, and I'm aligned with the Orthodox Church based on their understanding of the gospel and how they articulate it and the things that they emphasize. We are like right here. But a big part of my experience of Christianity has been community, and their community is just very different than what I grew up in. And I think primarily because non-denominational churches have a heavy emphasis, especially the newer ones, like newer generational churches, have a heavy emphasis on actually building community, like not just coming and attending service, but actually building community, getting plugged in, getting to know people, building relationships and things like that. And so I'm in this place where it's like, okay, I'm attending this church until the end of May, and I already know that communally I'm there with them. But then having these considerations about like how theology impacts how community is done, and going to the Orthodox Church and really loving like the intentionality of the services, and just like, yeah, so much more, but loving the way their services are structured, really appreciating like the tradition behind it, but being disconnected communally because they don't have as much of an emphasis on building community. And I, as an extremely relational person, that is really important for me. So why did I come on here? This was like a long introduction, but I wanted to reflect on thoughts I was having as I'm driving back from this Sunday service at this church, and also a podcast I was listening to on the drive home. I think I have about 10 minutes until I get home, so we'll see how far we get. So some of the thoughts that I had was, I really appreciate coming to a place where, like, I'm coming here, and by coming here, just by virtue of the type of person that I am, I'm being put in a position to be a bit more reflective about what it is I believe and how that plays out in my life, just by virtue of going to church. I think especially because I've just been out of that routine for a really long time. I haven't gone to Sunday service consistently since I graduated about 2 years ago, and I haven't gone to any type of like gathering consistently since about September. So 6 months and then 2 years I've just been out of this whole routine, and I'm coming, and it's like, even though like I don't necessarily agree with some of the ways he's building his argument, I think even engaging in that like discussion in my head as I'm sitting down and listening to the sermon that's being given is allowing me to, it's giving me a space to engage like in what it is I believe more intentionally than I had been doing before, just because of like where my mental health has been. So I'm really appreciative of that. And while I don't necessarily agree with some of the ways he builds his arguments and some of the things that he says, I generally agree with the overall thing that he is in fact saying. And I think that's helpful for me, because one of the problems that I've had is, I think especially in non-denominational settings, there really is a free-for-all. Free-for-all in what you talk about, what you base your messages on, how you structure your community. because they are their own authority. In a sense, they can claim the Bible is their authority, but ultimately they are their own authority in how they structure the community. And so I'm appreciative that I'm coming here and I'm like, okay, I'm generally aligned with the arguments that you're trying to build and the things that you're emphasizing, generally speaking. Now, with the podcast that I was listening to, she was talking about how she's like realizing that a lot of places that claim Christianity don't actually focus on Jesus a lot. And it was reminding me, I'm being reminded of a lot of things as I'm like coming back to myself and my mental health is stabilizing. It was reminding me that that's a critique that I had around the time I graduated, is we don't talk about Jesus enough. Like we don't talk about Jesus enough. Even in these places where I feel like I am aligned with the things that they are saying, there's not really a lot of emphasis on Jesus. Like, there's a lot of emphasis on other things, things that kind of differentiate this culture or this denomination from other ones, but there's just not as much of an emphasis on just the simple, is it simple? Maybe, the basic facts of what we believe in, which is the Trinity, the Incarnation, the Crucifixion, the Resurrection, and the transformation that we experience from the Holy Spirit. That is my understanding of what the basics of our faith are. And yeah, we talk about so many other things, and we don't spend time reflecting on like you can literally get lost in one of those things for the rest of your life. Like, you think about the Trinity, bro, you can be stuck there for eternity. You're trying to think about the Incarnation, you can be stuck there forever. Like, and we just talk about so many other things. And while I can agree, like, okay, they finished a series on just like stewardship with your money. It's like, yes, I agree generally what you're saying. However, I think we should be talking about Jesus more. Or if we're going to talk about something like that, like, we could talk about it in the context of the revelation of the basics of the gospel and how the gospel impacts this part of your life. But it seems like for a lot of again, I can only speak for the traditions that I've actually encountered on a regular basis throughout my life. It seems like in a lot of non-denominational spaces, the gospel, as they understand it, again, because learning about different denominations, you realize that it's different. The gospel, as they understand it, is like just this thing you need in the club, but once you're in the club, it's like, okay, we gotta give you things to sustain you since you're staying alive and we're not in heaven yet. Like, that's what it feels like. It doesn't actually feel like really digging deep into the revelation that is revealed in the gospel. It really does feel more like, how can we give you things to feel good and to make life bearable until we all die and go to heaven? And that's just not the revelation of the gospel that is in the Orthodox Church. And as she was talking about that, like, yeah, we don't really focus on Jesus a lot. I'm like, you go to an like, you're part of an Orthodox church and you genuinely like engage in the tradition and the system and the institution. You're never escaping Jesus. Like, from a limited perspective, okay, from the few times I have attended service and just general research into the tradition, I think the intentionality of how everything is structured is like, bro, you're gonna get Jesus. Like, you're not, if you genuinely engage, you're gonna get Jesus. You're gonna get the revelation of the gospel. Like, you're not going to escape it. And I think that made me like stop and want to record this video and reflect, because I was really appreciative of like just having a place to go and like the community aspect of this church I'm currently attending. And I think her saying that made me realize, like, yeah, no, the theology that informs all of this is really important in general, but it's also important to me. But I think I need to think about in what ways is it important. Like, how does the manifestation of theology matter to me and like my experience of like my faith in a communal setting? So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. And I think also she focuses, so she's evangelical Protestant, and theologically, like most Protestants theologically are based in some iteration of Calvinism one way or another. Maybe not all 5 points, but some iteration of the theology that Calvin developed. Although there are other aspects in there depending on which denomination that you are, but typically the theological foundation, at least when it comes to what we call the gospel, is heavily influenced by John Calvin. And so she was focusing a lot on the crucifixion, which I'm like, yes, let's talk about the crucifixion. However, let's talk about the resurrection too. Literally the only reason Christianity is a thing is because Jesus rose. He resurrected. It confounded every single person, and they spent the rest of their lives completely transformed by the fact that he resurrected. Because the thing is, okay, yes, we can talk about Jesus dying and the meaning behind it dying, but let's just come back to material historical reality just for a second. We can talk about metaphysics. I'm so metaphysical. We can talk about metaphysics. We can always come back to it. But everybody dies. Dying is not special. Dying is not special. Okay, literally everybody dies. And there were other messianic figures in ancient Judaism, and this is even talked about in the Gospels or in Acts. There were other messianic figures in ancient Judaism at this time that people were following, and they died. So Jesus dying, really, this is gonna sound heretical. Jesus dying, honestly, is not that special because everybody dies. The thing that makes his death unique is the fact that he got up, that he resurrected, that he came back to life. That is what makes us Christians, is the fact that we believe that he resurrected. And some people may start quoting some verses in the New Testament from Paul about his emphasis on the death, and we can have, again, interpretational discussions about how we read those passages. My understanding is that the reason why Paul focused so much on the death of Jesus is because he was Jewish and he was speaking to Jewish audiences and people that were being influenced by the Judaizers who wanted people to become Jews and follow Jewish religious and ceremonial cultures. And he's trying to explain to them that Jesus is the fulfillment of their cultures, and a big part of their culture was the fact that they offered sacrifices. So I think that's why he focused on it so much. But Paul also very much focused on the resurrection as well. That is the unique factor that makes us Christian, is the fact that Jesus resurrected. And I just don't think we talk about the resurrection enough, if even at all, honestly, in these contexts. If we are talking about Jesus, right, we are likely going to talk about the fact that he was God and the fact that he died on the cross. But you will rarely hear us talk about the fact that he resurrected. And I'm like, that's the whole thing. He does not exist is because he resurrected. It's because the disciples actually, everybody that after they saw him killed, or knew that he was going to, because not everybody actually saw him die on the cross. And yeah, so it's as she's talking about, we don't talk enough about Jesus, I'm I agree. And those who do talk about Jesus in these settings don't talk enough about the resurrection. We don't talk enough about the resurrection. I think there just needs to be a balance between talking about the resurrection and the crucifixion. But I think also the incarnation, just all of it. Because from an Orthodox perspective, it's and the theology is very there was a time where I could articulate this perfectly, and I'll probably get back to that at another point, perfectly, in terms of making the comparisons between let me not say Western, because that would also include Catholicism, and I haven't studied Catholicism too much, but between evangelical understandings of the gospel and Orthodox understandings of the gospel. The incarnation is everything. The incarnation is it. The theology is just I can't articulate it fully now, but the incarnation is the thing. And the crucifixion has meaning because of the incarnation. The resurrection has meaning because of the incarnation. Well, I think the incarnation has, they all kind of just, hello, my mom is looking at me. I'm in my car and I'm recording. I'm recording a video. I'm recording a video. Yes. But yeah, I think all of them provide meaning to the other. Like I think we know about the incarnation because of the resurrection. Like I think we know Jesus was God because he resurrected. I think that the crucifixion has meaning because of the resurrection and also because of the incarnation. I think the resurrection has meaning because of the crucifixion and the incarnation. Like they all, and hopefully at some point I can articulate my thoughts, or I can find some writings from like early church like theologians that explain these things better, because they probably explain it better than I could. But yeah, okay, so what was I saying? Yeah, I just don't feel like we focus on the right things. And I feel like the church that does focus on the right things is the Orthodox Church. So yeah, just listening to what she said, and like we don't, like basically she's saying we're not focusing on the main thing. I'm like, I agree, but even in the way you understand it, I think you're still missing a lot. But I think what also, something that I also realize is that because I've just been disconnected from society at large. So I've been really disconnected from Christian culture for these past 2 years since I've graduated, and I guess I don't realize like where people are at like in their understanding of Christianity and the gospel, because I just haven't been interacting with that many people, and I haven't been talking about it. Also because I've been in a weird place with my relationship with God. I just haven't, like, not even online, I just did not engage. So when she's saying these things, or like I'm listening to other like Christian content creators, and they're talking and they're saying certain things, or even like on a Sunday like a pastor is preaching, and I'm like, why are we focusing on this? I'm forgetting that they're speaking to a certain group of people and a certain crowd of people, and that they certain things, and that they too are also individuals that feel like certain things should be emphasized. And I'm like, okay, to highlight certain things, I don't think that necessarily changes the fact of what should be focused on and what should be highlighted. But I think it's helping me understand, like, if I'm going to be like making critiques, things, I'm an economist, I'm a philosopher, that's what I am. I'm a philosopher, so anybody can get it. Church can get it, economists can get it, politicians can get it, business people can get it, everybody can get it. So if I'm going to be making like critiques and observations and analyses like these, I actually have to understand the people behind them and the experiences that they're coming from to actually be able to speak to what it is that I feel like they're missing. I, as an individual, out of billions of people that have ever existed, me, one out of billions that have ever existed, however, I am aligned with millions on my perspective. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and just talk about that a little bit. Yeah, I'm kind of excited for this whole talking on the internet journey that I'm about to be doing, because I do have a lot of thoughts that I would love to have conversations with, but I don't really have that many people in my life to have these types of conversations with. So I'm excited to be doing this and just putting my thoughts out there and just seeing what comes about from it. I would love to be a professional speaker, like speaking engagements type of thing. So I do think this is going to be a fun journey for me, and I just love the fact that YouTube has this feature where I can record live and nobody sees it, and then I can just make the video public later, because I don't have storage anywhere. So this is just really convenient for me. Okay, was there anything else I wanted to say? There probably was, but I don't remember. I genuinely don't remember. I'm trying to think like I want to remember, but yeah, I think that was the main thing. So I guess I'll just be coming with updates. I think it was about like the Orthodox Church, but I'm not remembering. Anyways, I'm very proud of myself. One of these days I will post all of the videos that I've been recording since November, just talking about how bad my mental health is, because the fact that I'm able to sit here and articulate the way that I just articulated for the past 25 minutes is a freaking testimony. Like, I'm coming back to myself. I'm feeling more like myself. And it's amazing. And if I could cry, I would cry. I just know I'm crying on the inside. And I'm rejoicing. Last night, I'll probably make a video about this. Last night, I attended the Orthodox Church for their Pascha service. Pascha being the word for Passover. I think the Hebrew word is Pesach. I think Pascha is the Greek word. But basically Passover, Christian Passover, which we call Easter in the West. The Orthodox, they just work on a calendar than the Western Church does. So their Easter this year is a week after ours. Last year, I could make a video about this. Last year, it was all at the same time, which I didn't, because I just didn't know they had, I didn't know about the Orthodox Church. One, I didn't know about them. Two, I didn't know that they had a different, like, calendar. And I think it's like, so I went to Israel last year with my mom, and I got to experience Easter in Israel the traditional way that it's celebrated. We also went to a non-denominational service on Sunday, but throughout the weekend we got to experience it the traditional way that it's been celebrated. And I didn't realize it was a big deal that, like, I just didn't know. But last year all of the Easters were at the same time, and that's a big deal, because that, like, rarely happens. And I was in Israel when that was happening, so I got to see all of the different apostolic churches. I got to see the Catholics, the Orthodox, the Ethiopians, the Syrians. I don't remember, the Russians were probably there, but I just don't, like, remember. But it was really cool seeing, like, traditional celebrations of Christianity. It's just very different than what I grew up in. And over the past year, as I've been learning, over the past couple of months, this year specifically, as I've been learning and experiencing it myself, I probably want to reflect on that experience a little bit more. But anyways, I'm saying that because I went to their Pascha service, and they have it at night, and the symbolism. They have it at night because it's a symbol of, like, the resurrection and, like, dawn, so, like, going from dark to light. But the service is at midnight, so the sun's not coming up at 2 a.m. But I just think, like, the symbolism is there, and I like nighttime. I love the daytime. I also really love the nighttime. So being able to, like, go out and, like, have a service at night, it was beautiful. But the whole thing was so, all of their services are always beautiful. For people that are not Orthodox or not in any, like, traditional or, like, apostolic type of church, the way their services are structured are ceremonial. I think that's the best way I can describe it, is they're performing a ceremony. And it is a ceremony commemorating different events of Jesus' life, or just the gospel in general. So their Sunday services are ceremonial in terms of basically the entirety of the gospel, from, I think, the Annunciation, or Jesus' starting ministry, to his crucifixion, and I think resurrection, but I don't remember. So then the Pascha service is going to be the same thing. It is a ceremony of the entire crucifixion and resurrection story, and the whole thing was just beautiful. I like to watch videos about the services before I go or afterward, just because it is different and there's a lot of meaning packed into it that I'm not gonna catch if I'm just, like, going and participating in it. But nonetheless, it was still beautiful. I think my favorite part was when we did the procession out of the chapel, and we walked around the parking lot, and it basically symbolized, like, so after we get to the part of the ceremony where Jesus is alive and he's resurrected, he's gotten out of the tomb, we do this procession out of the church. This can make me cry. You do this procession out of the church that symbolizes the fact that Jesus is alive, and the light of his resurrection is being brought to the rest of the world. and we follow it. So at the front is this thing, placard, something that has this is another video. I can't finish this now. I will have to make another video about this. So I'm just gonna get off of here, and maybe I'll record when I get inside another video about my experience at the Pascha service. I didn't stay for the whole thing because it's a really long service. Their services typically are about like an hour and a half, but it's Pascha, it's gonna be long. So I think this one was about 3 hours, but I only stayed for the first part of it, which is the actual ceremony of the Passover. And then the second part is just the regular, like what would be a Sunday service, but they don't have service in the day. They just do everything at once. I needed to go to sleep so I could wake up and go to this Sunday service. But yeah, that's why I didn't go to it. But I'm just gonna make another video talking about this. But thank you for watching. See you in the next one.